Okay, I think people are starting to settle in now. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today on this Saturday afternoon. This past year has been filled with challenging times, but that just means that it's more important now than ever to join together and celebrate Sikh Heritage Month. So thank you all for being here today. We are delighted to be joined by Bhai Pardeep Singh for our talk to honor the 100th anniversary of Saka Nankana Sahib. Bhai Sahib Ji is a Sevadar of the Gurmat Studies Foundation and Guru Nanak Academy. He has been sharing Gurmat lectures over the past 18 years, motivated and encouraged onto the path of Gursikhi by the late Bhai Sahib Bhai Parminder Singh. Pardeep Singh aspires to deliver an in-depth understanding of our rich history. He hopes to help provide resources for the English-speaking youth so they may benefit from the path the Guru Sahib have set for us. We will be taking questions at the end, so please ask that you type any questions you may have throughout the presentation in the Q&A box, and they will all be addressed at the end. And with that, Paji, the floor is all yours.
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਸੋ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮੰਗਲਾਚਰਨ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ then I will jump into the lecture which ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਜੋ ਵਿਸ਼ਾ ਹੈ is ਸਾਕਾ ਨਨਕਾਣਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ so ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ whoever is listening ਮਨ ਇਕਾਗਰ ਕਰਨਾ I know sometimes we like doing multitask and putting on something in the background and do other things but ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਸਾਖੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਗ੍ਰਹਿਣ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ meaning that if you want to learn something you have to do one pointed attention concentration and ਇਸੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਜੋ ਚਿੱਤ ਬਿਰਤੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਇਕਾਗਰ ਕਰੋ ਸੋ ਆਪਾਂ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਇਕ ਦੁੱਤੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵਾ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਗੁਰ ਅੰਗਦ ਅਭੇਵਾ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਗੁਰ ਅਮਰ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਕਰਤਾ ਰਾਮਦਾਸ ਗੁਰਵਾਰੇ ਪੁਰਖ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਰਜਨ ਸੁਖਦਾਨੀ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਹਰ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਗੁਣ ਖਾਨੀ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਗੁਰੂ ਹੈ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਹਰਿ ਰਾਏ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤਿ ਹਰਿ ਕ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਨ ਧਿਆਏ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਤੇਗ ਬਹਾਦਰ ਰਾਈ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਦਸਮੇਸ਼ ਸਹਾਈ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਗੁਰ ਗਿਆਨਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਬੰਦਨ ਭਗਵਾਨਾ ਜੈ ਰਿਦ ਮੈਂ ਐਸੋ ਜਪ ਵਸੇ ਸੋ ਹੋਏ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਸਭ ਮੈਂ ਲਸੇ ਆਦ ਸਚ ਦਇਆ ਸੰਗ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸਚ ਬਾਕੀ ਜੋ ਚਾਰੇ ਪੀ ਸਚ ਚਾਰੇ ਲਾਲ ਦੁਲਾਰੇ ਪੀ ਸਚ ਚਾਰੇ ਲਾਲ ਦੁਲਾਰੇ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ So, Saka Nankana Sahib is an important event in our Sikh history. Jinu ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦੀ ਦਾਸਤਾਨ that those things that have transpired over the course of from when Guru Nanak Dev Ji came. And the name Nankana originated from Nanak, Nanak Ana Bhav meaning coming, the coming of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and that's the Janmastan. Rai Poi Ki Talwandi, which was renamed Nankana Sahib. Rai Bular, whose father was Rai Poi, he had all this zameen before under his, you can say under his ownership, and then after when his son Rai Bular became a Sikh of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, he put it all under Guru Nanak Dev Ji's name. There's at least 5,000 acres. And those of you that don't know how much an acre is approximately, if you have a soccer field, about 60% of a soccer field is about 1 acre. And 5,000 acres he had put in the name of Tan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Now, with history, I had read somewhere that history doesn't really say goodbye. It says, I'll see you later. In some other shape or form, it presents again. So those that actually look back and understand about those things that have happened will actually be more prepared for the future. So, to open up this Sakhi, we have to understand that after the period of Tan Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji, meaning after 1708, there was Baba Banda Singh Bahadur, and then there were the Sikh missiles, the Sikh groups that eventually came to a point where there was a Raj of Punjab, which was who was sitting on the throne of that Raj was Maharaja Ranjit Singh. And then after Maharaja Ranjit Singh's 40 years, there was the British Empire. Now, during the British Empire, they kept a close eye on the Sikhs because they saw that they had fighting prowess. And that's why they employed them in the military as well. And they saw opportunities amongst people that were very easily, you can say, corrupted by Maya, corrupted by money. And certain gurdwaras, not all of them, but certain gurdwaras, where the leadership, the person wasn't of high character or of Sikhi morals, what would happen is that with Maya and with power, the same thing that Guru Maharaj Ji said, Maya Tari At Anna Bola. Maya Tari is a person that adorns Maya, or you can say the influence of a Maya so deeply that he very much so becomes Anna, blind to what righteousness is. And then Bola, meaning that they will not hear the truth and they forsake the truth. What happens is when we give ourselves to Maya, we lose ourselves in small increments. We don't lose ourselves completely wholly in one day. It slowly goes away. And that's what had happened over time with this one individual. His name is Mahant Narayan Das. We have different sampradama in our Sikh Panth. This person claimed to be from one of the Sampradaya, but jere kartut siye, meaning that what he did in the Panth, he does not, he doesn't, should not be given the honor of being called a person from a certain Sampradaya. So, anyways, Mahant means caretaker. It was under his stewardship that everything was taken care of at Nankana Sahib. And slowly, he went into the depth of darkness and he started doing foul things that are very hard to swallow if you try to paint it out. But though we're going to jump into a couple of things so you can understand. But the British government saw that this person can injure the Sikhs in a certain way that then can keep him from rising in power. They started backing him. And where he had given about 50,000 rupees to the commissioner of Lahore, the British officer named Dr. King. And there was also, I said Dr. King, I should have said Mr. King. And then there was also Thomas Curry. Both of them had backed him up and made sure that through all the arms and weapons that the British had, they were supplying enough to them. And whatever he wanted to do, they turned a blind eye, meaning there was no justice for him. When the Sikhs started finding out, they started finding out through a Gursikh nearby who had a cotton factory. ਉਹ ਕਾਰਖਾਨਾ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਫੈਕਟਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਸਿੱਖ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਹਮਦਰਦੀ ਸੀ ਪੰਥ ਲਈ. He didn't approve of what things that he would hear, so he would telegram it or he would send messages to the Panth and they would find out about certain things that in koi brought in a prostitute to dance for him in the building that is kept for people that come and stay there. Then when they started finding out, the Sikhs would start petitioning that we want him to be removed. But the British wouldn't do any such thing because they all obviously had a hand behind him. ਇਹ ਆਪ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਗੁੰਡੇ ਸੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਕੋਲੇ ਉਹ ਪਠਾਨ ਸੀ and what would happen is that ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਦੀਆਂ ਬੋਤਲਾਂ ਆਮ ਕਰਕੇ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ this is a photo that's taken from the Prakarma after the Saka that you can see that the ਬੋਤਲਾਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਤਸਵੀਰਾਂ ਵੀ ਖਿੱਚੀਆਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਵੇ that ਇਹਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ you can say ਕਾਰਨਾਮੇ ਸੀ what he would be doing that bringing in the in such a pure place as where Guru Nanak Dev Ji's family resided, they would be bringing shrab diyan botla. Now what happens is when jithe paap phail janda na in this fashion, where there's gande naach with shrab diyan botla and people being disrespected, which I'm going to share with you another sakhi, what happens is then fir uthe khoon di lod pੈ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਸ਼ਹੀਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਖੂਨ ਦੀ and ਉਹਦਾ ਕਾਰਨ ਇਹ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਸ਼ਹੀਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਖੂਨ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਉਸ ਸਥਾਨ ਫੇਰ ਪਵਿੱਤਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ the blood of the martyrs ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਆਜ਼ਾਦੀ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਹੈ and ਇਹ ਕੁਦਰਤੀ ਹੋਇਆ ਇਹ ਇੱਕ ਨਿਯਮ ਬਣਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਪੁਰਾਤਨ ਸਮੇਂ ਤੋਂ so anyways to move forward a little bit what we see in Saka Nankana Sahib is a band of heroes that all collected together. They had their daily jobs and kirsani karde si, kei military de vich naukriyan karde si. But when they knew that the time had come, they all put that all aside and apne apne jagah to ja ke ut ke ikattar hoye, they all came together to do what was best for the Panth. So that's what I really want to start with the heroes of the Panth. That the band, the Shahidi Jatha, that would go to rid the Astan of Guru Nanak Dev Ji from the evil Mahant Narayan Das. One such being was Shahid Bhai Keher Singh. Now, ਆਪਾਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਸਿੰਘਣੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਧਰਮ ਹੇਤ ਸੀਸ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਬੰਦ ਕਟਾਏ ਖੋਪਰੀਆਂ ਲੋਹਾਈਆਂ like these are categories in our ardas. These are Gursikhs that fit into those categories. Right? These are made categories and so many names come in there. So jire jire turun tasveeran milgiyan hon and you see the swarups, consider ya to tode akh bhi pavitr hunde kyunki Shahid Gursikhan diyan tasveeran. What this one Gursikh was from Jargpind. His name is Bhai Keher Singh. And one time he was serving as an officer under a British captain named Mr. Richard, and they were passing through the jungles. And as they were passing through the jungles, a leopard leapt out and confronted both of them. Through the other person's fear and instinct, the Captain Richard climbed up a tree quickly. And he hollered down to Bhai Keher Singh. He said that come up too. Why are you waiting? Come up. He said that that's a leopard over there, and this is a lion over here, referring to himself. Keher means lion, Singh means lion. Amritari Sikh hoke, he's a lion, and he stayed there, and with him he had a spear. He also had a gun with him. He said that use your pistol, shoot the beast, shoot the beast. That's what the captain said to him. But he said that, well, the leopard doesn't have a gun, so I'm not going to use a gun. If he attacks me with claws, then I have a claw with myself, which is the spear. So he poised himself by Keher Singh, and he looked into the eyes of the leopard. And the leopard trying to circle around him as he sidesteps to stay fully in front of him. When the leopard leapt, the spear went up and it caught him in the mouth. And the picture was taken by the British captain. A.J. Gursikh, that they weren't frightened. They had the fighting prowess inside of them. They were not afraid to give their lives. And even amongst people that were the commanding officers, that would have fear inside of him, they would notice that kinna inna Sikhan de vich bahadri hegi hai, the courageousness of him. He would be one amongst the 200 Gursikhs of that Jatha that would arrive at Nankana Sahib. When Bhai Kher Singh had retired and he had gone home, he was happy to find out that Guru Maharaj Ji had blessed him with a son. But after about 21 days, what had happened is that his wife had passed away. He was left to raise his son, and he had an elderly mother. The son he would name Darbara Singh. Now, Darbara Singh is another individual who became Shaheed in Saka and Nankana Sahib. So that's why I'm pointing out the birth of his son. Darbara Singh was 6 years old and was raised with the Sakhiyan of the Sahibzade. And he would see one day his father has come home and is doing Ishnan. And he wonders to himself that why is father doing Ishnan at this time of day? It's not Amrit Vela, it's during the day. And he goes to his grandmother and he asks that why is Pitaji doing Ishnan? She said that "Unna nu aap hi puch lo tusi." When he went over and asked his father, he said that Putt, Kukrit karam je jag mein karhi naam asur tin ko sab tarihi. He said that ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮਾਰੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, they're the ones that we know as demons. And ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ demon ਅਖਾਉਣੇ ਆ, and ਇੱਕ ਦੈਂਤ ਇਸ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਕਬਜ਼ਾ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਧਰਮਕ ਸਥਾਨ, ਮਹੰਤ ਨਰਾਇਣ ਦਾਸ ਆ ਉਹਦਾ ਨਾਮ. And he had heard that day Kher saying that there was going to be a meeting and he was going to go attend. And he knew in his mind what had happened. There was a story of a Sindhi judge. Utthੋਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਲਾਕਾ ਨਾ, there is Sindhi ਲੋਕ ਆ. And the Indus River, ਇੱਕ ਪਾਸੇ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ Hindus, ਮਾਫ ਕਰਨੇ, Sindhi ਲੋਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਸ ਇਲਾਕੇ ਦੇ ਆ, near the Indus River, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਗਦਾ. That what happened is there was a Sindhi judge. He had retired and he thought that after ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਆਪਦੀ ਸ਼ਰਧਾ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ, so what he thought was I'll go and show gratitude to Guru Nanak Dev Ji. I'll take my wife and my 13-year-old daughter and we'll go and we'll give our gratitude and bow at Guru Nanak Dev Ji's astan. ਜਦੋਂ ਗਏ ਰਾਤ ਪੈ ਗਈ ਸੀ, so they asked some of the people that were working under Mahant Narayan Das that ਕੋਈ ਕਮਰਾ ਮਿਲ ਜੂਗਾ ਅੱਜ ਰਾਤ ਵਾਸਤੇ. And they went and showed a ਕਮਰਾ. ਨਾ ਹੁਣ ਕਮਰੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਦੀਵਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ, ਇਲੈਕਟ੍ਰਿਸਿਟੀ ਤੇ ਗੱਲ ਤਾਂ ਉਦੋਂ ਤਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ. ਫਿਰ ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ ਨਾ, ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਦੀਵੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਮੰਗ ਕੀਤੀ. They said that ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਸਮਾਨ ਸੂਦ ਕਰੋ and ਦੀਵਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚੀ ਨੂੰ ਭੇਜ ਦਿਓ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ. Now the ਬੱਚੀ didn't come back, the 13-year-old, because these group of men, these evil men were molesting the girl. And when she came back finally and she told her father went to confront the person who was in charge, who was Mahant Narayan Das. So when he went to Mahant Narayan Das, he said that Khabardar, if you tell anybody, he told his men to go escort the Sindhi judge and his wife to the rail station. And he said that you won't see your daughter because of what you just informed me. All night we're going to keep her and we'll return her to you in the morning. ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਕਹਿ ਕੇ ਵਿਚਾਰੀ ਦੀ ਇੱਜ਼ਤ ਲੁੱਟੀ ਉਹ ਕੁੜੀ ਦੀ. When the daughter was brought back in the morning and thrown at the parents, she was bruised and raped. And when they went to catch a train, the father had heard there was a Sikh conference happening. So he had gone to the Sikh conference to report this happening to them. And when he came at the Sikh conference, he said to them, "Kitthe Sikh?" He looked all around. He said, "Kitthe Sikh? Mani manda itthe koi Sikh hega." He said, "I don't believe that there's any Sikh here." He said that I'd heard of Ahmad Shah Durrani when he used to come through Khyber Pass and take women and go back to Afghanistan. But oh, lok mainu nahi das rahe. That's because ਇਹ ਜੇ ਹੁਣ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਅਹਿਮਦ ਸ਼ਾਹ ਦੁਰਾਨੀ ਤੋਂ ਔਰਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ that would be being taken in caravans would be returned home, ਉਹ ਜੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੱਸ ਰਹੇ। ਇਹ ਬੜੀ ਉਹਨੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੱਲ ਵੱਜੀ, that it hit them very deeply. And when this story got all around, they knew that now we have to do something. This cannot carry on. So there was Bhai Kher Singh. And Bhai Kher Singh, and then there was another Gursikh. When he, just to finish his story off, is when he was about to leave, and he told his son that we have to stop. This individual, his son, 6 years old, said that, "No, I'm coming with you. I'm coming with you, Pitaji." He said that, "No, bullets might fly. I might have to lose my life, but I can't have you coming with me. You're too young." And then Bhai Darbar Singh said to his father, "You yourself are the one that tells me stories of how Baba Fateh Singh Ji stood tall and when he became Shaheed. Am I not a child of Guru Gobind Singh Ji? Why are you telling me my age is too young?" वो जिद करने लग गया. And then Bhai Kher Singh knew that that's the truth what he's speaking. So he allowed him to come. And he quickly ran to his Dadima and told her that the time has come, that I can also live in the path that our Gursikh Brahma have done in the past. Meaning that jo ਸਾਖੀਆਂ ਦਸੀਆਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਡੂੰਗੀ ਅਸਰ ਭਾਈ ਦਰਬਾਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੇ ਦਿਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੈਠ ਗਈ ਸੀ, ਭਾਵੇਂ 6 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਉਮਰ ਸੀ ਉਹਦੀ. So he went to go get Ashirvad or blessings from his grandmother. She was very, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ, ਛੋਟੀ ਕੱਦ ਦੀ ਸੀ. So when she placed her hand on by the Darbar Singh's head, she said that Maharaji tanu safalta bakshe. And then he quickly goes and grabs a stool and puts it in front of his Pitaji, and he helps his Dadima to get up on top of the stool so she can reach the head of her son by Kher Singh and also bless him as well. So ਇਹ ਆਸ਼ੀਰਵਾਦ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਦੋਨੇ ਪਿਓ ਪੁੱਤ ਤੁਰ ਪਏ. And ਉਹ ਦਾਦੀ ਮਾਂ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕਰਦੀ ਗਈ, ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੇ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਕਰਾਉਣਾ ਹੀ ਆ ਆਪਣੀ ਗੋਦ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਜਾਓ. ਸਿੱਧਕ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦੀ. Then there's Bhai Lakshman Singh, ਧਾਰੋਵਾਲ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਕਾ ਨਨਕਾਣਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਸੁਣਿਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਇਸ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਹੋਊਗਾ. He and his wife Bibi Inder Kaur, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਇੱਕ ਬੱਚਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ. Now one time they had come to the Gurdwara and there was a child singing Kirtan and his voice melted their hearts. And then just like when anybody feels appreciative, they come and approach the person, whether it's a Kathavachik or a Kirtani, and they just want to say that I really want to thank you that Ajay ਬਹੁਤ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕੀਤੀ, that ਉਹ ਜੋ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਸੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਕੰਨੀ ਚੰਗੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਅਸਰ ਪਾ ਦਿੱਤੀ, meaning that ਡੂੰਘੀ ਚਲੀ ਗਈ ਸਾਡੇ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ. ਤਾਂ ਐਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਉਹਨੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਦਿਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਆਇਆ ਭਾਈ ਲక్ష్మణ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੇ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਇਹ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਦੱਸਾਂ ਐਂਡ ਪਤਾ ਲਾਵਾਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਪਿਤਾ ਤੇ ਮਾਤਾ ਪਿਤਾ ਨੇ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹ ਜੀ ਪੂਰੇ ਨੇ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਪਾਇਆ. So he went up to the child and ਜਦੋਂ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਤੇ ਬੱਚਾ ਰੋਣ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ. When he went and told him this, ਉਹ ਬੱਚਾ ਰੋਣ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਤੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ, I didn't mean to hurt you. Well, why are you crying? He said that I don't have a mother and father. I'm an orphan. And he said that then ਫਿਰ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਇਸੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਾਇਆ, that the reason that God has united us today is because I don't have a child of my own. ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਤੋਂ ਦਿਨ ਤੂੰ ਮੇਰਾ ਪੁੱਤ ਆ. I'm going to raise you. And Bhai Mangal Singh, as he grew up, he became known as Kirpan Bahadur. उन्हें की साखियां होंदियां मैं बाला नहीं जाना चाहना पर Bhai Mangal Singh that day February 19th in 1921 Bhai Lakshman Singh was doing Ishnan and he had just come home with his newlywed wife and Bhai Mangal Singh ने क्या कि आज पिताजी क्यों स्नान कर रहे हैं? He went and asked also by Lakshman Singh at this time, why are you doing ਇਸ਼ਨਾਨ? ਉਹਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਪੁੱਤ ਅੱਜ ਮੌਕਾ ਬਣ ਗਿਆ ਮੈਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਤਰਨਤਾਰਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ that ਇਹ ਅੱਗੇ ਨਾ ਹੋਏ ਜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਰਹਿਣ ਇਹ ਜੋ ਪਾਪ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਇਹ ਪਾਪ ਨੂੰ ਧੋਤਾ ਜਾਵੇ meaning that we wash this sin away from Guru Nanak Dev Ji's ਪਵਿੱਤਰ ਸਥਾਨ ਜੇ ਮਾਇਆ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਪਾਉਂਗਾ and he said that ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਾਣਾ ਪਿਤਾ ਜੀ he said ਦੇਖ ਲਓ ਹੁਣ that ਇੱਥੇ ਗੋਲੀਆਂ ਚੱਲਣੀਆਂ and he also explained the situation to him Bhai Mangal Singh would go his newlywed wife would also go and if ਆਪ ਦੋਨੇ ਤਿੰਨੇ ਤੁਰ ਪਏ and they would also go but before they went ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਉੱਥੇ 3 ਹੋਰ ਜਥੇਬੰਦੀ ਸੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਮੇਤ ਸੋ 4 ਜਥੇ in total 3 ਹੋਰ ਜਥੇਬੰਦ ਸੀ this is ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਰਤਾਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਚੱਬਰਾ and then there's Sant Teja Singh Samundri and Sardar Bhutta Singh Lalpur Wale they were all going to collect together and this was going to become a great number now ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਥਾ ਤਾਂ ਸਿਰਫ 200 ਸੀ ਸੇ 71 ਕਰਕੇ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਵੱਧ ਜਾਣੀ ਸੀ their plan was to go to Nankana Sahib and then fill the Gurdwara up so much that ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸ਼ਾਂਤਮਈ ਮਾਹੌਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਰਤਣਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਸੀ they knew that ਆਪਾਂ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਲੜਾਈ ਝਗੜਾ ਕੀਤਾ that the British are going to side with the Mahant again and give him the kabja so what they were going to do is that they were going to fill the Gurdwara up and then take it over in a shantmay mahal so but ਅੱਗੇ ਭਾਈ ਲక్ష్మణ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਘਰ ਤੋਂ ਤੁਰਨ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਉਹਨੇ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕੀਤੀ ਐਂਡ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨੇ ਹੁਕਮਨਾਮਾ ਲਿਆ ਘਰੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਸਫਲਤਾ ਬਖਸ਼ੋ today ਅੱਜ ਮੌਕਾ ਬਣਿਆ that ਆਪਾਂ ਜਾਥਿਆਂ ਸਮੇਤ that we're going to reach your ਪਵਿੱਤਰ ਸਥਾਨ and let's rid this evil once for all and ਆਜ਼ਾਦ ਕਰ ਦਈਏ ਉਸ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਨੂੰ ਆਜ਼ਾਦ ਕਰ ਦਈਏ let's bring freedom from the clutches of evil and tyranny to that place and ਉਹਨੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕੀਤੀ ਫਿਰ ਹੁਕਮਨਾਮਾ ਲਿਆ ਫਿਰ ਹੁਕਮਨਾਮਾ ਇਹ ਆਇਆ ਸੀ ਰਾਗ ਸੂਈ ਅਸ਼ਟਪਦੀਆਂ ਮਹੱਲਾ ਚੌਥਾ ਕਰ ਦੂਜਾ ਕੋਈ ਆਨ ਮਿਲਾਵੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਪ੍ਰੀਤਮ ਪਿਆਰਾ ਕੋਈ ਆਨ ਮਿਲਾਵੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਪ੍ਰੀਤਮ ਪਿਆਰਾ ਹੋ ਤਿਸ ਪੇ ਆਪ ਵਿਚਾਈ 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 The hukamnama is that somebody come and unite me with my beloved Pyara Paramatma. And what will I give to them? This body. Hon tispe aap vechai. Main unna nu aap da sareer arpan kar dunga. And agge kei ਹੋਰ ਪੰਕਤੀਆਂ ਆਈਆਂ that I want to highlight in this hukamnama. ਜੇ ਸੁਖ ਦੇਹ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਝੇ ਆਰਾਂਦੀ ਦੁਖ ਪੀ ਤੁਝੇ ਧਿਆਈ ਜੇ ਭੁਖ ਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਇਤੀ ਰਾਜਾ ਦੁਖ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੁਖ ਮਨਾਈ so I whatever the condition if it was in comfortable condition then I will still meditate on your name and even if I were to be given hunger and pain but still may ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ I'll find some peace by holding on to your name. Tan man kaat kaat, tan man kaat kaat sab arpi, vich agni aap jalai, vich agni aap jalai. That I surrender myself so much to you, Sache Pasha. Tan, with my body, man, mind karke, kaat sab arpi. I would cut myself over and over and throw it into the fire if this pleases you. ਇਹ ਹੁਕਮਨਾਮਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੰਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਿਆ ਤਾਂ ਭਾਈ ਲక్ష్మణ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ that ਮਾਇਆ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਕੀ ਸੰਦੇਸ਼ ਆ that you will have to give your body in order to free the jagah of Nankana Sahib. ਫਿਰ ਅੱਗੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ at the place where the village Nizampur Deva Singh ਵਾਲੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਸਾਰੀ ਇਕੱਤਰਤਾ ਹੋਈ ਸੀ ਭਾਈ ਕੇਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਵਰਗੇ ਦੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹੋਏ ਸੀ ਐਂਡ ਫਿਰ ਸੰਗਤੀ ਇੱਕ ਭਾਈ ਈਸ਼ਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਸੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤਾਬਿਆ ਚਲ ਜਾਓ ਐਂਡ ਇੱਕ ਸਿੱਖ ਨੇ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਕਿ ਭਾਈ ਲక్ష్మణ ਸਿੰਘ ਆ ਗਏ ਭਾਈ ਲక్ష్మణ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੂੰ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕਰੋ ਫਿਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਵੀ ਹੁਣ ਚਾਲੇ ਪਾਈਏ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜਥਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਸਾਰੇ ਇਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਇਸ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਆਪਣੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਤੋਂ everybody is going to leave and when we all reach ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਚੰਦਰਕੋਟ ਦੀ ਚਾਲ at that spot is going to be our rendezvous point when we all reach that spot we will proceed forward and go to Nankana Sahib and this is one jatha I said around 200 that had collected at that spot and ਭਾਈ ਲక్ష్మణ ਸਿੰਘ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਭਾਈ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਰਿਆ ਸੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪ ਦੇਖ ਲਓ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕਰ ਲੈਣਾ ਸੰਗਤ ਲਈ ਉਹਨੇ ਫਿਰ ਸੰਗਤ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਸੁਣ ਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕੀਤੀ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਉਹਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਉਹੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਤੇ ਸੰਗਤ ਨੂੰ ਸਫਲਤਾ ਬਖਸ਼ੋ ਆਪਣੀ ਆਸ਼ੀਰਵਾਦ ਬਖਸ਼ੋ ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਦੁਸ਼ਟ ਦੂਰ ਚਲ ਜਾਵੇ ਇਸ ਅਸਥਾਨ ਤੋਂ ਆਜ਼ਾਦ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਅਸਥਾਨ ਨਨਕਾਣਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕੀਤੀ ਕਿ ਆਸ਼ੀਰਵਾਦ ਬਖਸ਼ੋ ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜਿਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਹੁਣ ਮੇਰਾ ਠਾਕੁਰ ਹਮਰਾ ਸਦ ਬੁਲੰਤਾ that Guru Maharaj Ji speaks to us Gursikhs and it has been speaking to us over time and is true now and will be for the future for the children that you bring into this world and their children. Maharaj Ji is such Ad Sach, Jugad Sach, Happy Sach, Nanak Hosi, P Sach. And Maharaj Ji sadali bolde apne Gursikhs rahi to this Gursikhs through Hukamnama. And Hukamnama ਜਦੋਂ ਦਿਲੋਂ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਪਾਠ ਕਰਕੇ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ Guru Maharaj Ji gives them hukum and the Hukamnama came ਕੋਈ ਆਨ ਮਿਲਾਵੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਪ੍ਰੀਤਮ ਪਿਆਰਾ and this same Hukamnama that came to Bhai Lachman Singh in his home now comes to him and the Sangat, meaning that Sandesh Tonu, Riya Bhai Lachman Singh and Sari Sangat Nua, that Tanman Kaat Sab Arpi, which Agni Aap Jalai. That this is what's going to become of that body. But Maharaj Ji will secure your Atma in his God because the doors of Sachkhand are going to open up. And I'm going to embrace you when those doors have opened and as your Jiva Atma comes towards me. ਇਹ ਕਹਿ ਕੇ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੁਕਮਨਾਮਾ ਲਿਆ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਮੋਹਰ ਲੱਗ ਗਈ more meaning that there was no shanka left by Lachman Singh's head that no matter any interruption any vigin or any obstacle that we will have to reach that spot and ਆਪਨ ਸ਼ਾਂਤਮਈ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਦੇਣੀ ਪੈਣੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦ੍ਰਿੜ ਨਿਸ਼ਚਾ ਪੱਕ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ that had solidified his faith had solidified in his heart. So now what happened is ਇਹ ਹੁਕਮਨਾਮਾ ਸੀ ਦੋ ਵਾਰੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਚਾਲੇ ਪਾ ਦਿੱਤੇ the Gursikhs had all gone and they had come to this one rendezvous point is Chandrakot di Chal. And when they reached this spot, they waited for a while, but they did not know that the other three Jatha had been stopped. When they found out from that factory that I had highlighted earlier, Jira was owned by Sardar Uttam Singh, and there was a Gursikh named Bhai Varyam Singh. Now, just a small tidbit about Bhai Varyam Singh. I know I'm throwing a lot of names out to you. These are important names because they be Shaheed hona. This Bhai Varyam Singh, he originally knew nothing about this movement of trying to take over Nankana side. Ek supna aaya si. Supne de vich Guru Gobind Singh ji visited him. They say that 12 ਵਜੇ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ that ਅਨੁਭਵ ਵਾਲੇ ਸੁਪਨੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ. Anupov meaning that it comes intuitively without them um, trying to be made up of your months and scars. What I'm trying to say is that kei visions and so forth happen at that time. And Unu Anpav wala supna aaya si where Guru Gobind Singh Ji came to him and he said that ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲਹਿਰ ਹੁਣ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਪਾਓ. Eventually he'd find his way into the movement and then eventually he would be trusted to stay in that factory, and whatever information that they would find out, they would go and tell the Gursikhs. They would receive information about what Mahant Narayan Das is doing. So Varyam Singh had told Dalip Singh that you have to stop the Jathe. He's prepared. He knows that all the Jathe are coming. He was leaving for a conference that was going to run from the 19th, 20th, and 21st. It was the Arya Samaj conference. And as he was leaving, there was a Muslim woman that had also received information and came to tell him that he was on a jeep. And as the jeep was headed out, he jumped off the jeep when this woman said that ਤੂੰ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਚੱਲਿਆ ਕਾਲੀਆਂ ਪੱਗਾਂ ਵਾਲੇ ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਉਣ ਲੱਗਿਆ. Like, why are you leaving? The people with black dastana are coming. At that time, Gursikhs had adorned black dastars to show that it was a morcha, that they were making, they're protesting. Black meant protesting. And although this Gursikh kala vi dastana paun lag gaye si, so ਉਹਨੇ ਇਹ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਉਹ ਰੁਕ ਗਿਆ. ਉਹਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਗੁੰਡੇ ਤਿਆਰ ਕਰ ਲਏ ਸੀ. They had holes cut out in the Gurdwara Sahib so they could fit their guns through to shoot them. And they had on the roofs of Jathe, you can say the rooms are where the people would stay, or the Gursikhs, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਮਰੇ ਬਣਾਏ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਨ ਉੱਪਰ ਛੱਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਬੈਠੇ ਸੀ. ਗੋਲੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਸ਼ਾੜ ਕਰਨਾ ਸੀ, all the firing of the bullets they were going to do from the rooftop at the Gursikhs. So when Bhai Varyam Singh found out about this, he told Dalip Singh. Dalip Singh ne fir gaya. Dalip Singh went and he was successful in reaching the other three Jathe. And when he went to Kartar Singh Chabbar, he said that, no, I'm still going. I don't care what happens. I'm still going. He was very drid about going. After a lot of explaining, he said that he got convinced and he said, Chalo theek hai, we'll call it off. But what are we going to do? You've stopped me. You stopped Bhai Bhutta Singh and you've stopped Baba Teja Singh. What are you going to do about Bhai Lakshman Singh? And he says, no, don't worry, leave that to me. So there was a notice or a letter that was written out to Bhai Lakshman Singh to stop his Jatha. And when Bhai Dalip Singh came to Nankana Sahib, around that area, he couldn't find the Jatha. So he left the note to Bhai Varyam Singh. And Bhai Varyam Singh at that point would go and deliver that note when he saw the Jatha, because they had waited a while at Chandrakot di Chal for a while, and Bhai Lakshman Singh said that ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਰਾਤ ਪੈ ਗਈ, ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਵੇਲੇ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਂਗੇ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ, ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਤੁਰ ਪਈ ਆ ਹੁਣ. we don't we shouldn't stall any longer. Let us go then. ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਗੁਰੂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਹੁਕਮ ਆਇਆ that we should get there. ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਹੁਕਮਨਾਮੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਆਇਆ ਸੀ ਨਾ ਵੀ ਗੁਰ ਦੇਖਣ ਜਾਏ ਮਤਲਬ that whatever happens you should still go see your Guru Sahib. ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਆਪਾਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਤੁਰੀ ਚੱਲੀਏ. So they kept walking, and when they came close to Nankana Sahib, out of the factory ran the cotton factory came Bhai Singh. He handed the note to Bhai Lachman Singh, and he was reading it to the Sangat that the Panth has called it off. A Panthak Sandesha, that you have to accept the Panth's word. And there was Bhai Tal Singh Si Jathe de vich. And what he said when the letter arrived, he said to Bhai Lachman Singh, none other than the words of Dhan Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Tan man kaat kaat sab arpi, vich agni aap jalai, vich agni aap jalai, vich agni aap jalai. He said that dekho, Sikhan da ਪੰਥਕ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਮੈਂ ਸਿਰ ਮਸਤਕ ਮਨਜ਼ੂਰ ਕਰਦਾ. I accept it. But when Guru Maharaj Ji's hukum comes and it's contradicting, I'm going to go with what Guru Maharaj Ji is saying. So he sang it out, and the Sangat would start singing with him. And as they're singing, they would tell Bhai Varyam Singh, Sada Marag Agge nu ja ke hai, appa rukna nahi. They would now go in to the precincts of Sri Nankana Sahib, and there was nobody around that they could see. They quietly entered, and as they entered, before they entered, Bhai Tal Singh ne kya si that ek mai si, onu ki kita, he said mai, he had brought all his wealth and money that he had with him at that time, and he took it out of his pockets and he handed it to the mai, and he said to her that take this money. ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਪਾ ਦਿੱਤੀ, use this money to serve the ਸੰਗਤ that comes to this astan. ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਦੇ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਪਾਉਣੀ ਹੈ, that blood's going to fall on the ground, then ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਇਸ ਅਸਥਾਨ ਦੀ ਆਜ਼ਾਦੀ ਮਿਲੂਗੀ. So ਉਹਨੇ ਕੀ ਕੀਤਾ, ਉਹਨੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਫੜਾ ਦਿੱਤੇ. And there's another thing, there's another sentiment in this. ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਮਨ, ਤਨ, meaning tan man kaat. Tan means body, man means mind, and tan means money. And his sab Guru Maharaj Ji was saump dita. He had no money left by his side. ਉਹਨੇ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਇੰਨਾ ਕੁ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਦਰਸ਼ਨੀ ਭੇਟਾ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਸੀ, ਬਾਕੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਫੜਾ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਸੀ, and his mind and body ਹੁਣ ਉਹਨੇ ਦੇ ਦੇਣਾ ਸੀ, and ਆਪ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਾ ਸੀ. He had given everything. Maharaj Ji had said that ਇਹ ਤਿੰਨ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਨੂੰ ਆਪ Maharaj Ji will embrace him and accept him with him or merge with that being. And he had fulfilled all of those three things. Now, what had happened is, as the Jatha came in, if you know the Astan of Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Janam Astan, you can find the photos. It's a very, it's a small Gurdwara, the actual where the Sangat can come and do darshan of Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And then right outside of the Gurdwara is a stan where jithe Sangat ikattar hoke baithdi hundi hai. And where Guru Maharaj Ji's Swarup was, uthe Bhai Lachman Singh ja ke baith gaye. And then jithe Sangat andar baith sakdi, aapde stan te baith gaye. And then outside Sangat vi baithi si. And ਉਹਨੇ ਭਾਈ ਲక్ష్ਮਣ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕੀਤੀ, ਹੁਕਮਨਾਮਾ ਲਿਆ. That unfortunately we do not know, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਅੰਦਰ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਸੀ, ਪਰ ਉਹਨੇ ਹੁਕਮਨਾਮਾ ਉਸ ਵਕਤ ਵੀ ਲਿਆ. And ਉਹਨੇ ਫਿਰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸਿੱਖ ਸੰਗਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ that ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੋ ਹੁਣ ਹਿਲਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ, ਆਪਾਂ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਜਾਪ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਣਾ. ਜੇ ਉਹ ਆਏ ਆਪਣਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਕਰਤੂਤ ਕਰਨੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਾਮ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਰਹਿਣਾ, ਇਹਨੂੰ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਮ ਦੀ ਧੁਨ ਜਾਰੀ ਰੱਖਣੀ ਹੈ, meaning that make it continuously keep repeating God's name. And what happened at that time? Bullets started raining. They started coming into the Gurdwara itself through those holes that I mentioned about, and bullets started piercing so many of the bodies. And the bullets rained for so long that the Gursikhs that were sitting outside, ਉਹ ਬਾਹਰ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸੀ, ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸੀ. Some were just being injured and they weren't passing away at that time. So then when the bullets stopped, all the gundas came down, and then what they did, they had weapons, they had kirpans, they had other knives with them, they had kerosene with them, and they all came shabdi masti chadi diya. That way there's no inhibition in killing. They went in to the Gurdwara, around the Gurdwara, and started dismembering and mutilating those Gursikhs. But ਉਹ ਨਾਮ ਦੀ ਧੁਨ ਉਵੇਂ ਹੀ ਰਹੀ ਉਹ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਨਾਮ ਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਰਹੀ. They could hear it, and when that voice and the voice of Simran and bullets, you could hear it from a distance. That by Varyam Singh, who was at the factory again, had now met with by Dalip Singh, ਇਹ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੁਣ ਪਿਆ. And they said that ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਭਾਣਾ ਵਰਤ ਗਿਆ. That they came running, and when they saw that all the bodies were getting cut up and thrown into a big mesh where they had started a fire, Ag chalai vi hai, where the jand is, there's a tree there. You can kind of see it in the background here. ਉਹ ਤਸਵੀਰ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਦਿਖਾਉਂਗਾ. That ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਸਾਰੀ ਸੀਨ ਉਵੇਂ ਚੱਲ ਪਈ ਸੀ. ਮਹੰਤ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨਰੈਣ ਦਾਸ ਸੀ, ਉਹਦਾ ਮੂੰਹ ਢਕਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ, he was on a ਘੋੜਾ. They went by Varyam Singh and Dalip Singh that stop this horrible crime that you're committing. That ਹਜੇ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪੰਥ ਬਖਸ਼ ਦੂਗਾ if you can stop this cry from us. Then ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੀ ਕੀਤਾ, ਗੋਲੀ ਚਲਾ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਤੇ. ਉਹ ਦੋਨੇ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਹੋ ਗਏ, ਭਾਈ ਵਰਿਆਮ ਸਿੰਘ and ਭਾਈ ਦਲੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ. And ਇਹਨੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਲక్ష్మణ ਸਿੰਘ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਆ? He was looking for Kartar Singh Chabbar, but those jathis, like I had told you, they had been stopped. And when he said that, somebody pointed out another jatha da andar baitha Guru Granth Sahib ji de Swarup de tabiya te ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਗੋਲੀ ਚਲਾਈ. and ਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤਸਵੀਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦਿਖਾਈ ਸੀ, that ਇੱਕ ਗੋਲੀ ਚੱਲ ਕੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੱਜੀ. And Khalsa ji, it happened in 1984, it happened in 1921. Guru Sahib ਆਪ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਆਪ ਗੋਲੀ ਲਿਆਉਂਗਾ. That ਗੋਲੀ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਵੱਜੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ. But that hurt by Lakshman Singh so dearly that he said that Khabardar, it's because of Guru Sahib that you've been eating and you're being such a akirtakan and goli chalona. He went and took both of his hands and he covered Guru Granth Sahib ji. His body covered it. And ਉਹਦੇ ਸਰੀਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੋਲੀਆਂ ਵੱਜੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ. And ਹਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਇਹ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਬੀੜ of Sri Guru Granth Sahib ji ਪੰਥ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ. It was brought from Pakistan into Punjab in India, and ਉੱਥੇ ਗੋਲੀ ਹਜੇ ਦੱਸਦੀ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੱਜੀ ਸੀ ਧੰਨ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ. And handprints by Lakshman Singh are on Guru Granth Sahib ji, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਖੂਨ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਹੱਥਾਂ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਉਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਸਿਮਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਸਰੂਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, when he went to cover Guru Maharaj Ji's Swarup. So by Lakshman Singh, after he got shot and he was still alive, they would drag him out, hang him upside down from the jand, and they soaked his body in kerosene, and ਫਿਰ ਅੱਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜਲਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸੀ. They started a fire, and ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੀਤਾ, ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਸ਼ਾਂਤਮਈ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਪਾ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੇ. They took their kakars and threw it in a boli sahib. There's a well nearby. ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਸੱਟ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸੀ. That way ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਛਾਣ ਨਾ ਰਹੇ. But they had kade on their hands, and ਇਹਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ when the English would show up and they heard about what is happening inside, ਉਹ ਆ ਗਏ, and they found out that what has been done. They said that changa nahi kita what you've done, but now those that are suffering, kill all of them and burn all the bodies as fast as you can. They supported Mahant Narayan Singh, and they shut the gates, so nobody can get into Nankana Sahib. By then, Kartar Singh Chabbar had showed up, and this is kind of a map that they've drawn of where the blood streaks were and where the Jand was, which was around this area, Sheet di Jand, where they were burning the bodies, and where all the other places where they could find bodies after when the Panth arrived. They couldn't do the cleanup because now when the Panth arrived, there were still bodies everywhere. When all the Shahidiyas had happened, there was a cabinet you can see in the left. Every time ਜਦੋਂ ਗੋਲੀ ਵੱਜਦੀ ਸੀ, there would be a Gursikh that would go and stand in front of this little cabinet. It was by Darbara Singh who's in that cabinet. The Gursikhs put the 6-year-old body in there while he was alive and said that chup rahi, and they shut the cabinet. Against his will, though, they put him in, and he kept calling out, Pitaji, main bhi shaheedi pauni hai. Pitaji, main bhi shaheedi pauni hai. And then when all of them, all the Gursikhs had become shaheed, they heard his voice. And when they opened it up, they saw the child, and Sharab, these demons, what they did is they pulled him, they held him from the legs and the head, and they cut him from the midsection, and they threw his body into the fire as well. And you can see a scenery of jis tarah purja ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੀਤਾ purja ਕੱਟ ਮਰੇ ਕਬੂ ਨਾ ਛਾੜੇ ਖੇਤ. Dekho, they never left that the grounds. ਉਹ ਖੇਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਛੱਡਿਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਰੀਰ ਵੀ ਕੀਮਾ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, meaning it was cut into little bits. Rushing a little ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, and ਉੱਥੇ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਅੱਗ ਸੀ, that's the Jand, and that's the grounds of Nankana Sahib. And when Kartar Singh Chabbar reached the next day with 2,200 Singhs, they were armed with shastras. Mr. King, the commissioner, deputy commissioner, met him at the door, at the gates, at the outside gates. And Kartar Singh Chabbar was seeking justice, and he said to him that, hand me the keys. And he said that, no, you take all your men back, take them right now back. And he threatened him. And then Kartar Singh Chabbar said that just like the Jewish people find Jerusalem holy, just like the Muslim people find Mecca holy, so do we Sikhs find this place holy. If you do not move back, now Shant mein Shahidi paiyan, now you're going to find Gursikhs fighting with you. And he gave orders right away to the Gursikhs that were with him that andar jaake pehla bandukan wale kol sidhe jaayo tusi. And when he overheard this, Mr. King said that put your guns down, and he took the keys and handed it over to Sardar Kartar Singh Chabbar. And O safalta os waqt aayi. The path that had been committed, O shahidan de khoon naal. मैं उन्हें एक तस्वीर ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਦਿਖਾਈ ਸੀ, but I didn't explain because मैं थोड़ा ਜਿਹਾ ਅੱਗੇ ਛੇਤੀ ਚੱਲ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ. That there was one tasveer of this spot. Right in the corner, if you look down, there's a little square. Uch bacha hunda. Everybody knows that Jinna Guru Kar jande hai na India. We don't have them here, but uch bacha hunda. It's a little lowered platform, a square platform that goes into the ground. It's usually filled with water. ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਚਰਨ ਧੋ ਕੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਅਸਥਾਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਐਂਡ ਉਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਲਹੂ ਨਾਲ ਭਰਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ, ਇੰਨਾ ਖੂਨ ਡੁੱਲਿਆ ਸੀ ਸ਼ਹੀਦਾਂ ਦਾ. ਸੱਚੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਖੂਨ ਆਪਣਾ ਖੂਨ ਡੁਲਾ ਕੇ ਉਸ ਸਥਾਨ ਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਪਵਿੱਤਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ from all the ਕੁਕਰਮ ਪਾਪਸ that ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮਹੰਤ ਨਾਰਾਇਣ ਦਾਸ ਨੇ ਕਮਾਏ ਸੀ. So the keys had come back into the hands of the Panth, and the Panth now controlled the Gurukar, and Fair Gursikhanli Sarapant collected all the bodies. And amongst this crowd, there was one Buzurg Mai, the grandmother of Bhai Darbara Singh and Bhai Kher Singh. Now all these bodies were dismembered. You couldn't find anybody, but she saw that ਉਹਦੇ ਸੱਟ ਵੱਜੀ ਸੀ one time in war on his leg. ਉਹ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਲੱਤ ਉਹਨੇ ਲੱਭੀ ਸੀ, ਤੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਫਿਰ ਸ਼ੁਕਰਾਨਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਪ੍ਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਦਾ ਤੇ ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ that my children have given ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ. ਬਸ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇੰਨਾ ਹੌਸਲਾ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਬਿਰਦ ਇਸ ਮਾਈ ਦੀ, that you've taken my children into your god. And the funeral happened on February 23rd, 1921. Khalsa ji, it's 100 years ago. 100 years ago. Then on February, there was 126 skulls that they had found, 4 half-burnt bodies, and there's 3 large baskets full of flesh, 10 baskets of bones. And for Saskar Kita, and there's a 2 Kirtani, that Panth Kirtanis that Jinnanu Bula ke unhone Kirtan Kita. One is Bhai Jwala Singh. Bhai Jwala Singh ने फिर शब्द गायन किया सी ते खून के सोहले गाविए है नानक नानक रत का कुंगू पाए वे लालो. ये शब्द गायन किया सी at the funeral. And by Jwala Singh's son is by Avtar Singh, famous Ragi. If you ever want to listen to him doing Kirtan of Koi Aan Milave, kyunki why do I mention this? If you type in Bhai Avtar Singh Ragi and then you write Koi Aan Milave, you can listen to it on YouTube. ਇਹ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਾਗਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ, they have more than 300 shabds in rag that they preserved from the time of Guru Arjan Dev Ji. From Guru Arjan Dev Ji's time, when Satta and Balwand didn't come to do Kirtan, those that know the Sakhi, ਉਦੋਂ Guru Arjan Dev Ji ਨੇ ਵਾਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸੀ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ that ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਦੀ ਦਾਤ ਬਖਸ਼ੀ. And his forefathers were amongst those Gursikhs that got this daat. And it's been carried on in their family ever since, and they preserved those rags and how they sing that shabd in that rag from that time. So, chalo raho vichar. Then Principal Jodh Singh did the ardas at the funeral, and onne kya si, because at that time Gursikhs had become skeptical. That ardas de vichon a section kaddi hai, jiਵੇਂ purja ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਿਰ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਐਂਡ ਸੋ ਫੋਰਥ, ਉਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੱਢਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹ ਮੰਨਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ. And the English had put such a veil amongst Sikhs that they were starting to question their own ardas. And by Principal Jodh Singh, who had been meeting with other Gursikhs and trying to do prachar in the area about letting people know that these things happened in our past, at that time took a moment before Ardas, and he said that I want to let those people know that question the content of Ardas. Look and see for yourself if it's true. You still have time. Come and see these bodies, because these are the Gursikhs that we mention in Ardas. They fit into those categories. So फिर समाप्ति ते फिर ਜਦੋਂ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਹੋ ਗਈ, ਹੁਕਮਨਾਮਾ ਲਿਆ, ਉੱਥੋਂ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ that what happened to these Gursikhs in the afterlife. Kyunki sadi nazar ta utthe tak hi jandi hai na, our vision only goes as far as what has happened. And when we see that, tears naturally well up in our ears. You see that so many beautiful Gursikhs that we leave from, that have left the Panth. But Marji fir daste hai, Shant de vich hukamnama, I'm forwarding a little bit faster than I should, but chalo mil jal jalhe khatana ram. Khatana means that mixes, just like a ray of light mixes with the light of the sun. In the same way, the light of their Atma has now merged with the light of the Creator. Sang Jyoti Jyot Milana Ram. And that's how the light of God has taken the Atma into Sachkhand. Samay Puran Purkh Karte. That koi palekha na hove, who has merged them? The complete and perfect Creator. Ape aap ape janiye. Who knows this? Yes, we might not, but take it as a word from this whole story of Hukamname. That following through on Guru Maharji's Hukam, Maharji said it to the Gursikhs that aap himself, ape janiye. He knows himself where these Gursikhs are. And he's assuring us that ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਿਲ ਗਏ, meaning that ਉਹ ਹੁਣ ਸੱਚਖੰਡ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਗਏ ਤੇ ਸੁਨ ਸਹਿਜ ਸਮਾਦ ਲਾਗੀ, and ਇੱਥੇ ਬੈਠੇ ਆ ਸੁਨ ਅਵਸਥਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, in spontaneous samadhi ਲਾਈ ਬੈਠੇ ਆ, because they're in Puran Anand in the Kirtan that happens in Sachkhand. Ek Vakhani hai, meaning the one and only Lord has been revealed to them, and they're with the Creator, with their beloved. Aap Gupta. Yes, Maharji, you might not be able to see what actions have been taken place. Aap Mukta. But he himself is the liberator that liberated these souls. Aap Vakhana. And now he himself is showing you through his very Hukamnama. Nanak Pramapa Gun Banase Mil Jal Jalhe Katana. The same line that started this shant, Marji says that rid yourself of any doubt, Pramapa, and any fear. ये सारे दूर कर दो क्योंकि ये जिरे गुरसिक है just like water merges with the ocean that their light has merged with me. ये कह के मैं उन समाप्ति करदा इस स्थान they have found there's the memorial beside Nankana Sahib in the background. They have found this spot beside Guru Maharji. In this world, their memorial is beside Guru Maharji and themselves with Guru Maharji in Sachkhand. आए शहीदी पाई गुरसिक्खा ने मैं उन समाप्ति द मंगल गा के फिर I'm going to hand it over to the Singh. Balar Mahalla Panjwa, He Gobind, He Gopal, He Dayal Lal, Prannath Anath Sakhe Deen Dard Nivar, He Samrat Agam Puran Mohe Maya Tar, Andhkoop Mahapyan Nanak Pare Utar Slok, आए प्रभ शरणागति कृपा निध दयाल एक अखर हर मन बस्त नानक होत निहाल वाहिगुरु नाम जहाज है चरे सो तरे पार जो सरदा कर सेव दे गुरु पार उतार हार वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह.
Hanji Paji, thank you so much for that talk. I think it was a truly heart-wrenching but also a very inspiring story that I think everyone really can take something away from this. I'd like to move into some of the questions here we have in the Q&A. We have a few here, and I encourage anyone who has any questions, please type them up in the Q&A box so that they can be addressed. So our first question is, how did Saka Nankana Sahib impact the independence movement? Wasn't this one of the first peaceful protests?
Yes, it was Gurdwara reform. It was the Gurdwara reform movement, and this, though they would still stay under British Raj, they found that the impact now gathered greater movement because Nankana Sahib is the Tam that we say that is very important where Sikhi originated. So it was very important for them to achieve victory there. And the Gursikhs, though it didn't happen in the way they planned, right? That's why Gursikh kind of Shahidi Pauni Pai, but all we Guru Maharaj de Hukam Ansar, the Unane Pai. And then when this happened, what happens is, Khalsa ji, when koi Shahidi pa there, like let's say for instance 1984, you see Akal Takht with like bullets everywhere. What happens after Gursikhs come and they also visit the spot? And when they visit the spot and they see all the bullets and the bloodshed that's happened, unna de vi khoon ubala dinda. And then there's a greater movement that rises because of it. So it was very important, and it instigated, it got Gursikhs to come together in a greater deal where British would use other means to try to bring the Sikh Panth down, but they were able to, let's say, bring Gurdwaras in their control from and take it out of the hands of the people that were misusing them.
Anji, that's very well said. And this is also a personal question of mine. How do you think this Saka has affected Sikhi as a whole in how we practice Sikhi nowadays?
I think what happens is that through the course of this lecture, which I do urge you people that I have done this lecture before, to watch the YouTube, because I had to cut out quite a bit, and doing over a platform like this, it's a difficult to convey it the way I wanted it to convey it. ਜਦੋਂ ਸੰਗਤ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਫਿਰ ਤਾਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਸੁਖਾਨਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ. But the impact that like what you can take away from this is that the Sikh Sangat realizes that when you hear Hukamname coming from Guru Maharaj Ji, sometimes we take it as that that chalo hukamnama ho gaya, that's fine, right? We don't take it as what is Guru Maharaj Ji trying to tell us, right? These were Gursikhs. In our history, we learn that when Guru Maharaj Ji gave the Gurta Gaddi, and Bhai Nandlal Singh had asked Guru Gobind Singh Ji, that how am I going to talk to you now if you leave this world? And he said that Jo Bani Parnge and Songe, Unna Rahi, Oh Hukum Rahi Main Aap Bolunga, meaning that Bani Rahi Main Bolunga Tode Naal, Bhai Nandlal. And what happens is that relationship is broken time to time. And when these kind of prasangs are told in the Panth, then what happens is people realize that Guru Maharaj Ji bolde hai sade naal, and still can be. Like right now, what you can take away from this is that anybody having any difficulty, you can still approach Guru Maharaj Ji and have a personal hukamnama that can guide you, right? And it will also push you to try to understand the words of Guru Maharaj Ji's words. So it's a learning process. But those people that have a deep desire to communicate with Guru Maharaj Ji, this is the path then they need to do. And then it's another thing is that with the recent times with the Kisan Morcha that's happening, like if Gursikhs are reminded of these stories, as Gursikhs, these dates are always going to pass by. And when Gursikhs are involved in movements, and a day comes when it's Baba Jujar Singh's Avtar Diwas or Saka Nankana Sahib happens, there's these Sakhi and stories that are all spread out through the calendar that again put us back in the same place about what our forefathers, these Gursikhs, what they did, and we start to realize that how we need to approach Sikhi the way they did, right? Like I said, the history doesn't go goodbye. It says I'll see you later, because it comes in its own shape or form in the future. But now it's upon us that do we have those the same character, the same routine that those other Gursikhs have. That's very important in order for success in any movement.
Anji, absolutely. And another related question we have here is, do you think the same level of dedication, commitment, and trust in Guru Sahib exists in today's Sikhs as it did in those that were involved in Saka and Nankana side?
I do. And but I also believe that we have come to a time when there's so much media and distraction that these these things won't be broadcast or through that media, right? If Gursikhs have sincere affection to meet such individuals that have this kind, because Maharaj Ji di knee pakki hai, unhone Sikhi vaste pakki rakhi hai, and Gursikhs that feel a pull from Maharaj Ji while they're reading Gurbani, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹੋਰ ਨੇੜੇ ਚਲੇ ਜਾਣਾ, and ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ these Gursikhs become vessels for Guru Maharaj Ji's grace. And what happens is when the time comes, they surface up and you will see them. But for us, a lot of us, the thing is that we get discouraged because we don't see these kind of things because it's not broadcast. And those kind of things aren't going to be televised. Those things won't come to the forefront. These people will be the Gupt ones that are already sitting at home doing part. And when the feeling comes and when Guru Maharaj Ji speaks to them through Hukamnama, just like Bhai Lakshman Singh took, they're going to come forth and present themselves and do those kind of things that we have seen other Gursikhs do in the past.
Anji, absolutely. And we have one last question here. What lesson should we draw in today's management of Gurdwara Sahibs in light of this Saka?
Gurdwara, the main thing is that we have to pay attention to what's going on in Gurdwara. That's the biggest thing. We, like, let's say with Mahant Narayan Das, who was taken to jail, Magro Legacy Onu. But the thing is that we don't become active enough to know what's going on in our local gurukars, and things like stories we start hearing. Those are halune coming out, meaning that's something to shake us, that do something. Are you going to get up and do something? It's because we're not taking active roles in the Gurdwara, and we're choosing other people to come in. Like, the thing is that sometimes we want our own strength in Sikhi, and we choose to focus on that. But time to time, you have to see where the balance is, that you have to come to the Guru Car. I see like a lot of like ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਤੋਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ, ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਯੰਗ ਹੋਣ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਘਰ ਜਾਈਏ. But the population that grows up here, very little will want to go to the Gurdwara, or they get discouraged by how people are running it. If they stay involved and they call people out on what things they're doing, then people can see things happening that perhaps can come in favor. There was a time here too, like in Surrey Gurdwara was being run by people that weren't practicing Sikhi, that were drinking alcohol. And the Panth had to get together, and eventually, unanimously, the Gursikhs kept fighting, and then letting people know. I meant fighting in a way where they were getting the information out and letting people know about this, and then everybody unanimously voted the other group out. And now it came under the control of the Sikh youth. So you have to keep a ear and eye towards your Gurdwara and go there regardless of what kind of people are running it, because Guru Sahib's there, but still be invested into what kind of things are happening and how to confront those things. Right?
Anji, absolutely. The youth involvement is just, it's so important to have
Yes.
any kind of movement at all. And unfortunately, that's all the time we have for questions today. Baji, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak and to be part of Sikh Heritage Month this year.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And finally, we have some small announcements from the SHM Ottawa team. So this year, we have partnered with the Manmeet Singh Pullar Foundation to help raise funds to sponsor Afghan religious minorities and to help settle them in Canada. For more information or to donate, please visit our website, shmottawa.com, or the foundation's website, the msbf.ca. Quick reminder that tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be hosting a talk on the voices of the partition with journalist and author Kavita Puri. And then in the evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be hosting the final part of our Daughters of Punjab lecture series. This topic will be gender-based violence. To register and get the links for our upcoming events, please, again, visit our website, shmottawa.com. I want to thank everyone so much for coming out tonight. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa.